Living in an apartment is challenging. I'm sure you know that already. Whether the space is too small, it doesn't match your aesthetic, or it's just old and outdated. But there are so many ways to make your rental feel like home. And in this video, we're gonna go step by step on how to do it. Hi everyone, I'm Alli and welcome to my channel. These summer months have just been super busy for me, whether that was just doing things with friends and family or a lot going on at my full-time job and all of these big projects that I've been trying to balance on top of a busy schedule, which I'm sure summer is busy for pretty much everyone. So I thought today it would be a great time to just take a step back from the big projects, sit down and let's just chat. Let's talk about how I plan my DIYs and renter-friendly makeovers, as well as some of the future plans for this apartment, because the only room that's been done so far is this craft room and it took forever to get here, but it's looking so good. I also want to quickly say thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video. I'll have a little bit more about BetterHelp later on in the video and even how BetterHelp can help with the creative process. So the very first thing that I think about when planning a room makeover are the challenges of the room. This is when I take a really good look at the room and think about what the size of the room is, the shape of the room, as well as all of the different things that I can't change. Some of that includes in an apartment, the flooring. Sometimes you can't paint the walls, like in my case, I'm not allowed to paint. Sometimes that involves the lighting fixtures, the hardware, the cabinetry. There's a wide range of things that you definitely can't reno in an apartment without getting explicit permission from your landlord. The other things I like to look at are the vibe of the room, the color of the walls, the lighting that it gets, as well as just the functionality that the space has, or maybe the functionality that it is lacking. So once I get a big list of what I'm thinking about, I move on to the next step, which is to begin curating my ideas. So I thought it would be fun right now to actually show you and curate ideas together. And I always pull up, and I learn about this through DIY Danny. She is one of my favorite channels here on YouTube, and she uses something called Milanote. And we're gonna be planning the primary bedroom because I am very excited to get into that room and begin transforming it, because really the key to making your apartment feel like home is by tackling the bedroom. And it is a room I ignored in my last apartment, so we really need to address this space. Now that I have Milanote open, what I'm gonna do is create a new board, and I'm going to name it Bedroom Makeover. So now that I have that board, I'm gonna start looking at some ideas. So one of the first places I love to look is Instagram. I do like to go to my Instagram and see what is trendy, what other types of things people are doing in their homes, and also how I can apply some of the home reno that I'm watching on there to an apartment. Just kind of get a feel for what is going on in the world of design right now. So I'm gonna head over to Pinterest and I'm going to look up some ideas of where to start. Now, one thing I like about Milanote is that I can hit save on an image and it will go right to my board. I'm thinking I really like something like this right here. I like the paneling wall. I know I have a paneling wall behind me, but I like the idea of bringing in some sort of paneling to the room or something like that. So I'm gonna hit save on this one. Let's see. I like the idea of doing something maybe a little darker, maybe a little moody. Something like this is kind of cool. I like the picture framing on the wall. I like the layered textiles of the bedding. I also really like the art, the dresser styling. So we'll save that one. I keep a secret board on my Pinterest to just kind of brainstorm and brain dump. It's some of my initial ideas kind of end up right in this space, whether it's products that I'm interested in or just kind of overall vibe of whatever I'm looking at. So that's kind of what I do on Pinterest before I start bringing things into Milanote. Okay, so I'm gonna bring everything into my mood board and just begin sorting things based on what kind of purpose they serve in relationship to the room, whether that's for layout or whatever that may be. So here we go. So I curated my board like this. So I have some ideas for my layout here. Then over here, I have some of my main inspiration photos, kind of based off of just the feeling that I want the room to have, with some dark, moody vibes, as well as that coziness. I also just pulled in some of my furniture piece inspiration. And then down here are some of those other ideas I pulled in that maybe are just more for the vibes, or just a single element here and there that I really like. For example, this headboard, this kind of dark color palette, also this mirror. I love this mirror right here, this arch mirror. Then also the textiles and coziness of these two rooms. So at this point, now that I have my mood board beginning to be curated like this, I actually like to take a step back and just give myself some space to think about things and really let the creativity start flowing naturally. If you are like me, then you're probably a creative too, and you know that if you have a long to-do list of chores or other obligations that are piling up in the background, it is really hard to be creative. So in this stage, I like to just use this as time to cross off some of those to-dos that are bothering me, as well as just decompress and maybe take in some nature or do something outside of sitting in this craft room thinking about ideas. But sometimes you may find that whether it's the creative process or some of those other things that are on your plate, you may need just a little bit more than just a step back, and that talking to somebody would help work through the things that are weighing you down and affecting your creativity or just your overall day-to-day happiness and enjoyment in life. And that is where today's sponsor, BetterHelp, comes in. Therapy can give you the tools to approach life no matter what you are facing. BetterHelp's mission is not only to make therapy more accessible, but also more affordable. And I think that this is so important because oftentimes a barrier to going to therapy is the cost of it, as well as BetterHelp makes it so that your therapist is totally accessible, unlike if you live in a community that maybe still has fewer resources or access to mental health care. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's all online. By filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. And it is so easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist, and you can get started with the link in my description, which is betterhelp.com/actuallyalli. Clicking that link not only supports my channel, it also gives you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp, which not only gives you time to find your therapist, it also gives you time to meet with them and see if this is something that works for you. And because it's pretty common that the very first therapist that you go see may not be the best fit or best match for you, BetterHelp will let you switch to a different therapist at any time with no additional cost. And no additional worry about if that therapist falls within your insurance network. If you are struggling, think you need therapy, or really you just want somebody outside of your circle of friends and family to talk to about these stressors of day-to-day life, just click the link in my description box or visit betterhelp.com/actuallyalli. And thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this channel. Okay, so after I've taken some time to think over my design, that is when I pull out a standard pencil and paper. I like doing things the old-fashioned way, and that is by sketching and drawing. You could obviously do something digital. It is totally what you are comfortable with or what makes you feel the most creative and most inspired. So we're gonna do this as an example more or less because we are walking through with this video here and I still have a lot of thinking to do to figure out how I want to design this bedroom, but maybe just some sketching will help. So I think for the sake of what we're doing here in today's video, I'm going to just sketch out kind of my idea for the layout of the room, and I'll just roughly draw kind of the shape of the wall that I'm looking at like this. So this is going to be the bed here. So I'll probably put like a nightstand, one here. My layout is very rough. We'll probably do some curtains because I need the blackout curtains. Now I typically would do a much nicer sketch than what we're doing here, but this is kind of more of an illustrative purpose to give you an idea of sort of what I go through when I'm designing a room. And just when I kind of want to think about maybe a layout or a design challenge, I always like to just sketch it out because getting the thoughts out on paper really does help me organize my thoughts. Once I have my sketch and my mood board and my Pinterest board, I begin sourcing all of the furniture and the decor items. I have a couple different methods on how I do this. The first step is I like to look at some of the stores that I feel inspired by, some of those high-end stores like West Elm, Pottery Barn. I also like to take a look at Anthropologie because I like the creativeness of it. And my ultimate favorite one to look at is McGee & Co. because I feel like that style fits right in with what I'm trying to do. And I'll just take a look at what is out there that is outside of my price point and find ways that I could either find it at a more inexpensive store or even ways that I could DIY some of the things that I'm seeing, or source things from a thrift store or Facebook Marketplace. This part definitely takes the longest because it can take weeks to even sometimes months to find all of the right pieces for a space. You'll see the video all come together within the course of a couple days, but that's because in the background I had been gathering and gathering all of the different elements so that I had them all and then put them all out at the same time. So then this brings me to the next step, which is planning and completing any DIY projects. So if I purchased any furniture from IKEA, Facebook Marketplace, the thrift store, and it needs to be flipped to better suit my needs, then I will do it at this stage because that's also going to be another time-consuming step, but also my favorite step because I love being able to DIY custom furniture for my space. I have done a ton. You may have seen in my living room makeover, I DIY'd pretty much every piece of furniture in the space besides the TV stand and the couch, which is so wild to think about. That room was mostly handmade, DIY'd projects, even some things built from scratch like that coffee table. So cool. And there's just that sense of pride when you can DIY, also save a little bit of money in the process of doing so. I also may do some of the smaller projects like make custom art for the space or do some thrift flips or even transform some of the pieces I already have, just to make sure everything is custom and fits into the room how I like it. And I just love that DIYing, even just a coat of spray paint, is such a quick and easy way to transform something, and it's affordable and it'll make it match your room without having to go out and replace things you already have or shop at more expensive stores. So I've come up with the ideas, I created a mood board, I've done some sketching, created some shopping lists, bought and curated all of the decor, and also completed all the DIYs. So once you do all of that, it is finally time at the stage to put it all together. Well, at least in my case, because I like to show those full transformations because it makes such a dramatic effect for a video. And you really watch any sort of DIY room makeover on YouTube and you will see that they do the makeover over the course of a very short period of time. This honestly is not realistic. I guess personally it's easier to hold on to things and just do them all at once instead of filming in teeny tiny little increments here and there. So I think that's just like a personal thing where I just couldn't imagine spreading out filming clips of a video over weeks and weeks and weeks. That's just a lot. That's a lot of doing my hair and makeup that I don't want to do. If you're doing this in your own home, it makes more sense that as you are bringing in the pieces that you're curating to put them out and display them and see if they actually work in the space. Behind the scenes, DIY YouTubers will not admit we totally style things and then remove it all and then play around with the decor before ever hitting the record button, because it's essentially this step of seeing what actually works in the space, removing the stuff that doesn't, or rearranging, and we just cut all that out because you don't want to sit here watching me for hours rearranging shelves. So there's just nothing wrong with creating your home over time. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing type thing, and I think personally in the end that's probably the better way to approach it. So that is how I approach designing rooms around my apartment for YouTube. I hope you learned some things, maybe got some inspiration, and maybe, or at the very least, some excitement about the bedroom makeover. It's not going to be the next video. It's gonna still be a little while until we get to that point, but it is the big makeover that I am working on and hoping to begin working on very soon so that that video can be out in a couple of weeks. You are not going to want to miss it though. There's going to be other DIYs, other room makeovers in between, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. And also like this video while you're at it, because that is definitely the best way to help my channel grow. Don't forget to head to my description box to learn more about BetterHelp and get 10% off your first month of therapy. And if you want to see how I've put every one of these steps into action, you could check out this room makeover on the screen right here. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!